Hello, and thank you all for joining us for this Microsoft Reactor live stream event. We are happy to have Kazi Sakhawat, a Microsoft trainer, joining us today. Kazi will be covering Excel Workshop for Anyone, mostly covering Excel fundamentals, so primarily beginner level information, rehashing maybe some information that you've forgotten if you're coming here with some knowledge, or if you're, stepping in for the first time on Excel. This session will run for approximately 45 minutes with time for questions throughout. Kazi is joined by his teammate Tim, who will be helping moderate the chat. So if you're dropping questions, you might see Tim responding to some of those. So feel free to drop throughout. Don't hesitate. Don't save them till the very end. Get them in. The sooner the better. We'll get all of those questions answered, and we'll have time at the end for Q&A as well. If this is your first time joining us, please note that for Teams Live, there is a slight delay in the feed from presenter to audience. So when we do respond to questions, there may be a little bit of lag time. Also to note, this session is being recorded and will be later uploaded to our YouTube channel. So if you're not able to stay for the duration of the session, or you want to revisit some of the content covered, it will be available at a later time. I'll drop the YouTube channel link into the chat shortly. At the conclusion of this session, I will also be sharing a feedback survey. The Reactor program is always striving to provide new and engaging content. Your feedback is always welcome. We use that to curate topics that better suit our audience, so please take the time to submit and fill out. At this time, I will share the floor and have Kazi step in and take over.
Awesome. Thank you, Rebecca. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Microsoft Excel Level 100, or an Introduction to Excel training session. Very excited to host this training session for you folks today. So as mentioned, if you do have any questions throughout this event, please utilize that Q&A function. We'll try and address them as frequently and as quickly as we can. And if we do have some dedicated time for Q&A at the end, if you have any additional demo requests or anything like that, I'll be more than happy to show those off as well. And as mentioned, this training session will be recorded and will be made available to you afterwards as well. So did want to just briefly introduce myself. So my name is Kazi. I will be your presenter for today. My role is that I am a Microsoft trainer. And joining me is my colleague Tim, who is also a Microsoft trainer, but today he's going to be helping out with that Q&A moderation. So as you're asking those questions about Excel, Tim's going to be the first one who sees them, and he'll be the one who's responding to you. Also wanted to mention that Tim and we do work for the Microsoft Stores team, which is a global business spanning over 190 different markets digitally, with a few physical locations or experience centers around the world as well, located in New York, London, Sydney, and in Redmond. And it's our pleasure to host these types of events, or to present these types of events, such as our Microsoft Store Enterprise Experience or our Microsoft Store Customer Success Training. And regardless of the type of event, our objective is always to ensure that our users are able to achieve more using our Microsoft tools and applications. And of course, today we are focusing very much on Microsoft Excel. And in case you're wondering, Tim and we are presenting to you today from Toronto, Canada. So in terms of today's agenda, again, as I mentioned, it is very much a refresher or an introduction to Excel. So don't worry if you haven't used Excel in a long time. Hopefully by the end of this session, you'll be encouraged to try out some of these features yourself. So in terms of what we'll be going over, first I'll just be doing a brief introduction to the application during my slides. And then I'll be getting into how we can get started with Excel. And this is going to include a brief overview of formulas, how we can create these workbooks and these worksheets. And I'll also be showing you how we can share these Excel spreadsheets as well, let's say with our colleagues within our organization, with our coworkers, and how we can also control the permissions for how we're sharing it out, and how we can collaborate on these spreadsheets as well at the same time. And we'll finish off with some additional resources where you can learn more about Excel. Perhaps if you do have some more advanced questions, I'll be giving you those resources where you can learn more, or perhaps continue whatever we touch on today. So Excel does have many features such as flash fill, their sort and filter, and even quick analysis. And it's a powerful tool for organizing and analyzing data. And the built-in tools within Excel really do make it easy to get started. And a big part of this are these Excel templates, which are offered to you. So I'll be giving you an overview of the templates, how we can access them and utilize them. And in fact, a large portion of, as I do this introduction to Excel today, I'll be using one of those built-in templates, which is available to you as well, so that I can best show off some of these features within this application. And as I said, if you do have any questions or in terms of how you can get these templates, please let us know in the Q&A. We'll be more than happy to share that with you. Now, with Excel, you can also turn a data set into a formatted masterpiece. So a visually organized spreadsheet is highly appreciated by others, as it can help them follow your data and calculations easily. So again, when there is that visual representation of our data, just really does make it easier for others to sort of understand what we're trying to convey using that data. And we'll learn about how we can format data using cell styles and themes, as well as how we can use charts to visually represent this information as well. And finally, as I just mentioned just a little bit earlier, with Excel, we can work better together, just like with all of these other Office applications, such as Word and PowerPoint. It has the same capability in terms of co-authoring or collaborating. So I'll be showing you how easy it is to share out this file with your coworkers or with someone else. And you can set these permissions before you even share it out. So perhaps you want to make it a read-only Excel spreadsheet, or you want to give them the permission to be able to edit it as well. Microsoft Office 365 makes it very simple to utilize this sharing capability. It's basically as simple as clicking a button on the top right corner of your screen, as I'll be demonstrating, and then we'll be showing you what it looks like when people work on it at the same time. Now, before I do dive into our training or our demonstration, there are just some key terms within Excel which we'll see pop up as we're using this application more and more. So I'm just going to pause on the screen over here. I'll allow you to sort of go through it. I'm not going to read through every single one, but some of the more commonly used ones in terms of our base knowledge for Excel would be things such as a cell. So the cell would be the box which is formed by that intersection of a row and a column within the worksheet or within our table. And within the cell is where we can input that information. So text, numbers, etc., whatever it may be. And then sort of tying into that is our cell reference. So these are almost like coordinates, and it's going to let us know exactly what cell we have selected or that we are inputting information into. So essentially, let's say if the cell reference is B3, that means it's at the intersection of column number B and row number 3. So you can sort of go along over here. We can see that there's some additional definitions such as formulas, value access, etc. But again, these are all things we can learn about from directly within the Excel application itself. So now that I've given you a nice little introduction, and now that I see that more folks are joining into this training session, let's go ahead and dive right into our live demo. And just a reminder to those of you who may have just joined us a little bit later, if you have any questions, we have that Q&A function on the right-hand side. You can ask your questions anonymously or use your first name and share any thoughts or comments there as well. And also a reminder that this session is being recorded and it will be made available to you. So let me just exit out of my PowerPoint over here. And where I am brought into is within my desktop. So how can we access Excel? So if you're using Office 365, we can of course access Excel directly on our web browser. So if I were to open up my Microsoft Edge web browser here, I can then type in office.com. I can then sign in with my Office credentials, such as my Microsoft or my organization's credentials. And I will then be brought into this Office home landing page. And it should look similar to most users. On the left-hand side, you can see all of these various apps I can use in this demo environment, including that very familiar icon for Excel. So it's that green logo with that X going through it. And here on my web browser, if I were to click this icon, it's going to bring me into this page where I can load up my existing spreadsheets, which exist on my cloud storage, such as OneDrive. I can open it up directly here on the web browser, or I can even create a blank workbook directly on the web as well. So again, I'm able to do this because I have that Microsoft 365 license, and this is tied into my work or my organization, which allows me to load up Excel directly here on the web. And for those of you who are familiar with Excel, you can see that the layout over here, these menu options, does look pretty similar, if not identical, to what we see on the desktop application. Now, when I do have it open here on the web, there is an icon up here to open this in the desktop app. So I can open up the specific spreadsheet or a workbook, which I have open directly on my desktop app from this web browser. So just wanted to mention, hey, we can access Excel from the web browser if you have that appropriate license. So let me just close this up. I'm going to exit out of my web browser. And where I would like to now proceed to is the Excel desktop application. So to access that, I can either type in Excel here in my search box, or I can click this Start button on my Windows environment here. It's going to open up my Start menu. I have it pinned here in my little Start menu icon, or I can go through this list. It's in alphabetical order, and I'm able to find Excel directly from here. And when I click it, it's going to load up this application. Now, if this is an application you use frequently and you are using a Windows 10 computer, you can right-click on this icon and choose to pin this to your taskbar. So when you pin it to your taskbar, the benefit is that even if I were to close this up, it will always remain there. I don't have to go searching for it from my Start menu. I can always just click it and it will load up right away. So let me start with a blank workbook. And first, I would like to start with a navigation tour to help you get oriented with what is available to us and what is displayed to us here on the screen. Now, again, I will mention that this version of Excel, which I'm using, is the most recent version of Excel, which is a part of that Microsoft 365 subscription, which always ensures that you get all of these latest features. However, if you are using an older version of Excel, not a lot has changed in terms of some of these features which are available to you. But do keep in mind some things may be different in terms of how they're displayed on my screen as opposed to yours. So starting with this navigation tour, I would like to first show off this top ribbon menu. So the ribbon menu is a tabbed menu system that sorts all of the things we can do within Excel or within this application. And you can see that these are sort of focused on so right now we're in this home tab within my ribbon menu. And within this home tab, you can see that there's these different columns. So there's one section for font, there's one for alignment. So again, these little columns and the icons above them will correspond to these different categories. And we can see it goes all the way along here. Now, if I were to click into these other tabs, such as Insert, we can see these ribbon menu options change up. So again, it will correspond to whichever option we are clicking into up here. So for example, when I go into Draw, it's going to show me all of these inking features. I can draw or write directly on the spreadsheet, even if I don't have a touchscreen, by using this Draw with Touch feature. And again, as I go further along, we can also see there's a section specifically for formulas. We'll be visiting this section towards the end, as well as additional tabs for data, review, view, etc. Now, the great thing is, let's say if there's a specific function which you use frequently within Excel, and you're not a big fan of clicking into these different tabs to find exactly what you're looking for. So for example, you frequently use these margins, so the page layout and the page orientation. This is something which you always want to access, and you don't want to click into this tab all the time. What you can do is when you right click on a certain section, so each of these little sections we see here, it's going to open up this menu, and we can then add this item to our quick access toolbar. So when I click this, you'll notice it just added in this icon up here at the top. And this little space here is our quick access toolbar. And this is fully customizable. So let's say now if I were in a different tab, such as my home tab, I can now click this icon and it's showing me that preview of that page setup function, right? So I don't have to go navigate elsewhere. I'm easily able to click into any of these items. So I can do the same thing. Let's say if I use these conditional formatting options frequently, I can right click, add this to the quick access toolbar as well. And we can now see an additional icon, and it's going to show me those conditional formatting options. And once this is no longer needed as a quick shortcut, I can right click and choose to remove it as well. So again, you can pick entirely what it is you wanted to add up there. It could even just be these simple font options, bold, italicized, etc. It's entirely up to you. But this is something which is worth highlighting because not a lot of people or users know about this feature. Really just helps you be a bit more efficient and a bit more speedy as you're using Excel. Perfect. Let's go ahead and remove that. Now, again, within Excel, we can see even just from those few times I navigated into these different tabs, there's a lot of different options here, right? So there's a lot of different icons. Some of them are incredibly small, doesn't really have any text beside it. But within Excel, as we do hover over a certain item, first of all, it's going to give us this pop-up window or this box. So here we can see that this one says flash fill. It's going to show us, hey, is there a keyboard shortcut for this item? And it's also going to give us a description of what this function will do. So if you're ever unsure, hey, what a button does, you can hover over it. It's going to tell you exactly what it is, and then you can go ahead and proceed. But on the alternative side, let's say you do know, hey, exactly what this button does, but you haven't really used Excel too much, and you always forget, hey, where is this icon located? So this flash fill, for example, it's under the data tab. But if I'm working on my spreadsheet, I'm doing various things, and I forget, hey, where is that flash fill? I cannot find it from this list. This is where you can utilize this search function here at the top. So this Alt Q is very useful because you can click into it. It's going to show you some items which you may have used recently, so recently used actions. But you can also type in that keyword, so such as flash fill. It's showing me that best action, and I can go ahead and initiate that action directly from the search bar. So again, if you're not too sure where to find an item, or even if that item is possible, just type in that keyword here, and it will show you those best results. And a quick way to get here, we can also see, if I were to just zoom in a little bit more here, we can see it's letting us know that the shortcut is Alt Q. So if we press Alt Q, it's going to bring us back into the search box. Now, the other final thing in terms of sort of the help or learning more, again, if you're not too sure what a certain item does, for many items, as you hover over them, it's going to show you the pop-up window, of course, but it's also going to show you a Tell Me More section. So let's see if we can find that here. Let's go back into our home section. Let's go into Insert. Okay, so for example, if we hover over Insert, of course, we see this this description here, but if we click on Tell Me More, it's going to open up this additional help column here on the right. And again, this is a built-in resource you have available to you within Excel, and it's going to include multimedia. So it will include, hey, video step-by-step steps. Let me mute that over there. It's going to include diagrams. And again, this is a very basic example for insert, but for some of these more complex items, you can click on that Tell Me More option to bring you into this section. Okay, so now while we have this workbook open, I'd like to then introduce you to this name box and then the formula bar. So whenever I click into the cell, these are individual cells. As I mentioned during the introduction, the intersection of a column and a row would be our cell. And as I click into them, you will notice here, it's showing me within this name box that corresponding cell. So similarly, I can also type in that name of the cell I want to go into. So if I type in H20, for example, hit enter, it will move me into that location. Over here, this section, this is referred to as the formula bar. So as we do type in formulas, this is where we will be seeing them pop up. So as I type in this equal symbol, and as I'm typing in these formulas, we'll see some suggestions over here. And any ranges we have selected will also show up in this section as well. So again, this is our name box. This will be our formula bar. So the formula bar also is where one can enter or edit those values, as I said, within our cells or within our charts. And it displays the constant value or the formula which may be stored in an active cell. Of course, this is a blank workbook. I don't really have anything here, but later on we'll see once I click into it, it will show us those formulas. So next, I want to give you an overview of our worksheets and our workbooks themselves. So the workbook is a file that you create in Excel. So right now I am in book number 1. It's just the default name it gives to a new workbook which we create. And within these workbooks is where we can have multiple sheets. So right now I am just on sheet number 1, and I can see that just based on this icon here. You'll notice beside it there is that plus symbol which I can press. And what this is going to do is it's going to add in these additional sheets, so I can rapidly go ahead do so if I have the need. Or if I added in sheets accidentally, I can right click. It's going to open up this menu option, and I can go ahead and delete or even rename it if it was regarding a specific topic or a specific item. So it's easy as that to remove, and even to rearrange. If I wanted this specific sheet to be higher up on the list, I can move it as such. Excellent. Oops, sorry about that. So next thing I'd like to highlight is let's go ahead and open up a let's go ahead and open up a new template. But actually, before that, just one more fundamental thing I wanted to show you is that when I do click into a cell, when I type in a number, such as the number 3, and I hit enter, what it is going to do is it's going to align to the right. So text aligns to, or sorry, numbers align to the right, and text will align to the left. So just one basic thing to remember regarding Excel. And also there's one more thing before I do open up the new worksheet is I wanted to show you how there's also linked data sources, or how we can connect our data or things that we're typing in to an online data source. So if I were to type in, let's say, names of certain cities over here. So let me type in London, Toronto, Tel Aviv, and maybe let's do New York here. So right now, I just typed in some basic information. And also, as you're typing in cells, if you hit enter, it's going to take you to the cell below. If you hit, and you can also use the left, down, up, right arrows to move around. But okay, so now that we have these cities typed in, I'm going to go ahead and select this range, these cells here. And what I want to do is I want to go into this data tab here at the top. And once I click here, there's these different sections, but let's explore this data type section. So here I can see some stuff listed, organization, stocks. But if I press this drop down arrow, one of the options here is geography. So this is something, a really neat feature where you can convert to geography. So it's going to take these city names I put in. And if I were to click this, what it's going to do is it now recognizes, hey, these are locations. We can now click on this insert data, and we can now pick one of these categories. So again, it recognizes that these are cities. So I can go ahead and maybe include the country or the region. It's going to calculate, let me know exactly what country that's in. I can go ahead, maybe add in the population there as well. So again, without me having to look to those external sources, I was able to get this information, link my data directly from within Excel under this data type section. So again, as we can see, if I click on the same icon, it's going to show me all of these other options as well: longitude, latitude, liters, country, region, area, etc. All of that information. So now that I do have this information here, we can also quickly change the look of the data which we have inputted into our spreadsheet. And actually, let me just zoom in a little bit more just so everyone is able to see. So here I have this information. I can go ahead and select these cells. And then if I were to go into the home section, there are several different options here. Of course, I can bold, italicize the text, etc. But I can also go into insert. And then I can click into table. And what this is going to do is this is going to convert this information into a table. There's also a shortcut for it, Control T, as we can see. We can also click into tell me more, as I said, as I indicated before, to learn more about this item. But once we click onto table, it's going to show us the cells selected here. So we already pre-selected it. We can leave it as such. You can go ahead, click OK. And it has now instantly been turned into a table. But you can also see that it's the spacing for these columns isn't that great, right? So I can't really see the name of the full country over here. And even the name of the cities are getting sort of squished in and cut off. So what we can do is we can go back into our home section, and going all the way to the right, we can see this format option. And when I click on format, it's going to be a drop-down menu. This is where we can click the Autofit Column width. And when I use this option, it will now space everything out appropriately. And we'll see the same option to autofit, let's say, the row height if there was additional items here. Another way to adjust these columns is we can also manually click in between them, right before where they intersect, to click and drag and move these around. Same thing goes for these rows as well, if you wanted to adjust these manually. You'll also notice that now that we turn this into a table, I'll just show this to you now in case we don't have time later on, it is now giving us these drop-down arrows, which allows us to apply filters to this information we have. So for example, if we only wanted to see London, we can go ahead, select it, click OK, and in this table, it is now only showing us that one specific item. we can click on this drop-down arrow again and choose to click on Clear Filter, and this will show the rest of the information. And we can apply this to any of these columns, right? So if we want to filter out certain countries or certain populations, we can do so. And this table feature, again, maybe this location and population data isn't the best example of it, but you can apply these filters to any tables which you have created or applied these filters to. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you here within the space, you'll notice that as I'm typing into a cell, so let's say if I click into here, and if I was typing some text, hello, everyone, welcome to the training. As I click away, you'll notice that it sort of spills into this next space, right? It's still contained in this one cell, as we can see up here, that's the text within this cell. But this column number I, it kind of just spills over into there, right? And if I start putting something into this specific section, so call cell I28, if I start typing here, you can see it sort of overlays over that as well. And then this first cell information gets hidden. So how can we fix that? How can we make sure that it doesn't sort of go behind that other cell? This is where we can select the cell. And while we are still under this home section, we can go over into our alignment. And then we can wrap our text. So just over here, so under this alignment section, we can click on this wrap text option. And what this will do is this will make sure that whatever text or information we put it in still fits into this one cell. So the text wrap will be based on our column width. So if I were to expand this column, we can see it is sort of filling in that text accordingly. So this is also something very useful. It may be a minor thing, but in terms of if we are putting in text and we want that nice formatting within our spreadsheets, this wrap text is something very useful we can use as well. Now, I know we don't have a lot of time for today's session, but I do want to show you now the Backstage view of Excel. So if I were to click on File over here, the very first tab, which doesn't show us these menu options, when I click on File, this is going to open up a brand new section entirely within this application. And one of these options, or one of these areas rather, is at the very bottom of this navigation list. We have the section for options specifically. And when you click into here, it's going to open up this menu. And this is where you can really customize the application experience for yourself. So this is going to include some more basic things such as, hey, what type of office theme do you want to use? So right now I'm on a colorful theme, but for example, if you do prefer a darker theme, if that's easier on your eyes, you can go ahead and change that. Let's go back into options over there. But there are going to be some additional more advanced areas here as well. So we can see there's different sections such as for formula specifically, or even for ease of access or advanced settings. And one final thing I just wanted to show off here is you can also customize your ribbon menu, which I've been using so far, and your quick access toolbar directly from here as well. So again, if there's certain things which you never use in Excel and you don't want it to be showing up here, you can customize and modify it all from this section here. Similarly, if there's an icon which you are having a tough time finding, you want to rearrange it and move it around, have it more visible, you can adjust that from here as well. Okay, so let's exit out there. Actually, let me go back into options, change my theme back to that more colorful theme there. Perfect. And then what I'd like to show you, again, I have been stressing these additional resources a lot to you today because, again, we are limited with our time for today's training session. But one of the tabs here at the top, we have our help tab over here. And what this help tab is going to do is, again, you guessed it, as implied, we can click into this help section to browse these various topics. Again, we can type in those keywords such as, let's say, pivot tables. You can hit enter, and it's going to show you some very extensive results from this area. So it's built right into Excel. But this is also where you can contact support. So you can actually get live help from a Microsoft Office support agent. You can also give feedback. So let's say if you believe that there is something which can help improve this application, all of this feedback actually goes directly to the development and engineering team for this application. And this is also where we can go into show training and view what's new as well. So if I click into show training, again, it's giving us a more organized view of what it is you may be trying to achieve, such as pivot tables, formulas, and functions, and you can click into these sections from here as well. And finally, we have our community, Excel blog, both great resources if you are trying to achieve some of those more advanced tasks. It's very likely someone has asked that same question before, and you can visit the Excel community to get those answers in these threaded conversations. Perfect, so let's just exit out of here. Now what I'd like to do for the remainder of this training session is I would like to highlight some of these templates which are available to us within Excel. So when I click into File, and I'm brought back into this page where I can go into Options or open up an existing item, this is where I can also access some additional templates. And these templates, we can see, let's click into more templates here. And let's say you're trying to make a budget. So you can type in that keyword over here, click enter, and it's going to show you all of these results. And you can see from this preview, some of these are, let's say, a personal monthly budget, a bill paying budget, a company budget, etc. And regardless of what template it is, when you do click on it, it's going to open up this window. It'll give you a little preview of, hey, what does this template do? What can you achieve with it? And you can then go ahead and click create. Now, why I'm really stressing the benefits of these templates is because these will do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. So again, Excel has never been easier to use because of all of these help features and the tell me more features which are built into it. However, templates, these have been around for a while, and these will still do most of these heavy lifting. So again, if I were to, right now, it brings me into the start page here. So it gives me, again, a quick description. But now if I were to go into this personal monthly budget, all of the formulas, etc., in the background have been applied. So for example, here, when I click into total monthly income, where it's showing these two items, when I click into it, I can see that some formula which has been applied in this formula bar. So again, whether it's the formulas, the layout, the formatting, etc., these templates will do that heavy lifting for you. So then let me go ahead and exit out of here. I won't save this. So in regards to templates, the two which I would really like to highlight for you folks today is the Welcome to Excel template and the formula tutorial as well. Now, I do understand perhaps some of you audience members are maybe using an older version of Excel, such as Excel 2016 or Excel 2019, and maybe you're not seeing these two specific formulas show up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prompt my colleague Tim, who is joining us for this training session, to share out two links, and those links are going to take you into our Microsoft website where you'll be able to download either one of these templates, and those will work for an older version of Excel, such as Excel 2016 or Excel 2013, I believe. It'll say on the website. So for those users, just so you don't miss out on this experience or being able to use these templates, utilize those links. You'll be able to download it from there. Otherwise, all other current users of Microsoft 365 will be able to access it directly from here. Now, let's go into the Welcome to Excel. And again, I invite you to join with me as we work on this template, or you can continue working on it after this session ends. And again, this Welcome to Excel, let's go ahead, just explore some of these features which are built into here. And again, I really like these self-guided tours because it sort of takes you step by step, and you can see here within these spaces, it will show you exactly what it is you have to do, and it will also explain what's happening in the background. Again, if you find Excel to be a little bit intimidating, especially once it gets into the more advanced stuff, there are these built-in tutorial templates which we can utilize. So let's see some of the ways we can do some addition in Excel, for example. So if I were to select this yellow cell here, let's type in a formula. When I click that equals to symbol, and as I start typing in a formula, I'm going to be using that sum symbol. You will notice that Excel will give us these suggestions from this drop-down menu. Similarly, I could be typing it up here into the formula boxes itself. So let's just exit out of here, select the cell, and up here I could be typing in equals to sum. And again, it's going to give me those same suggestions. So just like this guide is telling us, let's type in, select the sum formula. Let's do D4 to D7. These are going to be our coordinates. And if I hit enter, it's going to give us that total of 170 right there. Another way to do these quick additions is I can select this next cell we have over here. And when I press Alt and then equals to on my keyboard, it will automatically select that range. So I didn't have to manually type in that formula or that range. It automatically selected it. I am now able to hit enter. And actually, let me zoom in some more here. Once I hit enter, I'm able to hit enter, and you are now able to see that result instantly as well. Similarly, you can apply these conditions. So let's say if it's over or above a certain number, let's say above or below 50, we can apply that condition as well into our formula. So let's do that real quick. So let's type in equals to sum if. So this time we're not using the sum formula. We're adding in that condition, right? So the sum if, we'll do D11, D15, comma, and in brackets, we just have to put, let's say, greater than 50. Close off those brackets, hit enter, and we now have that result of 100. So next, we also have the sum if function. So if the sum function or the sum if function, and if the sum function could talk, here it gives us this breakdown of sort of how these formulas work. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time on these breakdowns themselves because this is also something which we can refer back to. So let's go ahead and try and check out some of these other features. So let's go into our fill section. So we can see here we have this table. And again, let me just zoom in some more, move over here. Oops, sorry. So we can see we have some numbers over here within this table. There we go. And what if I needed to fill in the rest of this table? So we can see here 50 plus 50 equals to 100. And then the next one, 50 plus 60, presumably we should be typing in 110. But when I select this first cell and I go to the corner, we're going to see this plus symbol show up. And what this does is I can drag this down and I can automatically fill in this information within Excel. So instead of having to manually do it, I was able to fill it in. Now, some other things we can do with this autofill option. We can also fill right. So what I did was fill down. I can also select this item where it says 200, and I can drag it across to the right. And this is known as filling right. Okay, now let's go down here and let's check out these fill handles. So let's say if I were to select produce and if I were to drag this down, again, it's just going to fill in that same information, produce. If I were to select fruit, and if I move my cursor over here and I double click that plus instead of dragging it down, it will also do the same thing and quickly fill it in. And this also works for series. So in this situation, we can see it says week number 1. So if I were to drag it down, Excel will recognize, hey, week 2, week 3, week 4. This works for dates as well. So let's say if I did February 1st, and then the next one I did February 3rd. So we're skipping a day in each month. I can select this, see this plus symbol show up. I can drag it across and it will fill it in accordingly. So very intelligent in terms of recognizing these patterns. Now let's move over into, let's say, split. So in this split section, in this scenario, we have a lot of data stuffed into one column. So over here, we can see that there's some email addresses. And what I'm trying to do in this situation is I'm trying to get individuals' first names and last names filled in here. Again, it may seem like a very manual process, but as I type in their name, so here it looks like this person's name is going to be Nancy. So as I type in Nancy, okay, perfect, I'll hit enter, takes me to the next cell. I can then type in Andy. But as I'm typing in this next name, you can now see that it's giving me suggestions for the rest of the names as well. And when I see these options show up, I can click enter and it's going to autofill the rest of these options or flash fill these options over here. So another way to do it is if I were to click on Smith, I can then click on this flash fill option. Oh, sorry, it's still showing it for this one. I can click on Smith. I can go into insert, or let's see here, data, data, and then I can click on flash fill and it will fill in that information once again. Similarly, let's say we wanted to turn this text into columns. So again, it's even more the information, the names, etc. It's a little bit more muddled over here. So we have their first and last name and we have their company name as well. So how can we split this up? So let's select all of their names, all the way from Nancy to Yvonne. We're already in our data tab. And what we want to use now is text to columns. So when we click on text to columns, we just have to make sure a couple of different options are selected. And that includes delimited over here. So we're going to select delimited. We're then going to click next and select what it is that's separating these individual items or these names and the company name. So we can see that it's a comma, which is separating it. So it's Jan, comma, COTUS, comma, Relay Cloud. That's the name of her company. So from this section, the delimiter section, we can go ahead and select comma. And we can see now here in the data preview, it's showing us how it's going to break it down. We can then click next, and it's going to ask us, hey, what is going to be our destination for this file? So we can click this icon and then click into that destination cell within our spreadsheet, or I already know where the location is going to be. So I can type in that $D, $32, click finish. It's going to ask me, hey, there's data already there. Do you want to replace it? Yes, I do. And we can now see that Excel has done that work for us as well. So it's separated those first names, separated those last names, and their company name as well. And this was using that text to column feature. So there are some additional ones here we can use as well. We can split a column with formulas. But let's just explore just a few more of these options as we do move on to the last few moments of this training, and then we'll finish off with some additional resources, and I'll check in to see if there's any specific demo requests. So under transpose here, let's say we were to select this entire table here. We can then press Control-C to copy. And then once we select our destination, we can of course do Control-V to paste. But from our Home tab, the very first icon we'll see on the left-hand side here is this paste option. And when we press this drop-down arrow, it's going to give us all of these different options. And as we hover over them, in terms of how we want to paste it, it's going to give us a preview. So this is before I'm even clicking on any of these selections. It's showing me that preview. So if I were to click onto Paste Special, and then I were to select Transpose over here, and click OK, what it did was it took this data in this table and it switched it around. So now it's showing us these items in a row form over here, and it's showing us these amounts in a different area. So these same things can be applied to, let's say, if we were trying to transpose with a formula and additional items as well, such as an array formula. So just the last couple of things, let's check out sort and filter. So this is something which I showed you earlier on as well, sort of when I made those cities. So let's say if I were to select a department, such as meat, I can go into Home, go over into Sort and Filter. And if I were to click on this filter option, what it's going to do is this is going to give me the filter options at the top of this table. So again, these weren't existing before. I can now, just like I showed you with those cities, I can filter between different departments. So let's say I only wanted to see the deli items. I can go ahead, select it. It's only going to show me salads and sandwiches from that section. Similarly, I can clear the filters again. And from this drop-down arrow, I can also sort from alphabetical order, or if it was a number item here, it gives me the option to sort from smallest to largest as well, even if I didn't have these filters turned on. So let's say if I did want to remove this filter option, the drop-down, I can still select some items, go into this filter section, and then still sort from smallest to largest over here, even if I didn't want that drop-down option. Now, in terms of, let's say we were to go into charts, this template will give you the walkthrough for charts and templates as well. But again, I do notice that we are just a minute away, so apologies for any of the content which I wasn't able to cover today. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to highlight this help section in terms of learning more or giving feedback in terms of how you think Excel may be more useful. And I'll check in with my colleague, Tim, to see how we're doing. And just the one final thing I would show off, if we do have some more time, is how we can share this out with our colleagues. But before I do that, I'm going to pause over there, check in with Tim. Tim, how are we doing? Any questions pop up? Anything we can help address?
Hey, Kazi. As of right now, everything was addressed in the Q&A tab. So you can go on if you'd like to show that last feature.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tim. So folks, thank you for sticking around. I'm just going to take this last extra minute just to show you those sharing capabilities. So at the very top, if we had a file saved, and in fact, you know what, I'm going to close this up and let me open up a file I have saved on my OneDrive for Business. So OneDrive, for those of you who aren't familiar, is the cloud storage location. So let's say I had a contact list over here. So an Excel spreadsheet, which is a contact list. Just opening up here. So this is a saved file located on my OneDrive. And if I wanted to share this out with my colleagues, I do see this share button over here. And when I click share, it's going to open up this window where I can then adjust the permission. So who can access this spreadsheet once I share it with them? Will it be specific people whose email addresses I type in? Will it be people with existing access or anyone in my organization? So Contoso is just a fictional company I work for. And this is where we can also allow editing from here as well. So if I leave these permissions, click apply, I can now type in that email or the name of the person who I want to send this to. So perhaps it's my colleague, Kyle. He's a part of my company. It's giving me that suggestion. I can select his name and I can click send. It will send him a link to this file and he'll be able to open and co-author and edit this Excel spreadsheet with me. If he was joining in at the same time, I would see his profile photo show up here or his initial show up here at the top. It would show me exactly where he is and we'd be able to work on this together. We can also utilize things such as comments. So let's say I pick a specific cell. I can right click and then click on a new comment, or let's click it to a different one. So I can click on new comment and I can say, can someone fill in this cell? So this is a great way, even if people aren't working on a file at the same time, you can leave these comments so that when Kyle accesses this file, he can see these comments and then resolve these tasks, even if we're not working on it at the same time. Excellent. So having said that, let's go ahead and close it off over there. And I would like to thank everyone for attending today's training session. I hope it was informative. And please do try out some of those templates, especially some of those introduction templates. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you folks at some additional training sessions as well. So with that, thank you, everyone. And thank you to my colleague, Tim, for all your assistance today. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much, Kazi. Really appreciate it. We just had one question. Do
Yeah,
you have
sure.
a follow-up session for
Okay.
Excel through your team and training? If you.
Sure, absolutely. So we'll be sure to get in touch with the point of contact and set up another training session. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you both, Tim and Kazi. This was wonderful. Thank you to the audience for tuning in. And again, this session is recorded. It will be available later. If there's anything that you missed or you want to revisit, check out our YouTube channel, which I dropped the link into the chat. All right, everyone, have a good one. Take care.